Hello, welcome to Cardi-K Kickboxing with Attitude. My name is Erika Mundt, and I was the 2018 Shape America National Teacher of the Year for high school, and I am from Iowa City, West Iowa. So I just thought that was kind of a fun way to get us started. Like I said, I'm doing this because I just really love sharing about PE and kind of what we're doing here in Iowa. And be honest with you, this is my first Zoom session where I'm recording it ahead of time. So just be patient. I'm moving myself around here on the screen to help you see as much of the slides as you can. And then, feel free to kind of take notes, and I'll be available for a little Q&A at the end. Cardio kickboxing is something we started teaching here about 10 years ago. When I started, they had just gotten all of these new equipment. You can kind of see the bag behind me here through a grant, and yet it hadn't been incorporated into any curriculum yet. So it's kind of my job to help figure it out how to use it, what to do with it, how to get students moving and active with it. It's really easy to get moving, and as we've learned through this last year, cardio kickboxing doesn't need equipment, and you can do it pretty much anywhere with just about any space. You can find ways to have awesome cooperative learning, great unique movements, and it's really easy to modify for students. So most of our skill activities today are going to be without equipment, but I will show you a few things that we have done in the past with equipment. But our equipment has actually been locked away, and like this usually has water in the bottom of it, but right now it doesn't because we've been going through some construction. And then with COVID, we really weren't allowed to share equipment for a while. So hopefully next year we'll be able to get our equipment out, but it's kind of all locked away right now. So most of our stuff for this year has been without. So just some of the stuff that we're going to go through is I would have already taught the posture position, that just kind of the base of everything that we really do. We would have already taught push-ups, squats, planks, athletic stance, etc. I'll show you some of the breakdowns for each movement and how we assess them and how we progress from them. And then, we start really slow. We use this with our basic PE class, which is we call it lifestyle fitness. So it's a individually focused class. We also will use it with our team and rec activities, which is more of a group-oriented sport, and we would do more cooperative learning in there. And then we have an ultimate fitness class, which is they're a little more intense. They like to do it more times a week as they go through. We have trimesters. We really try to kind of meet the needs of each class. So we progress some classes a little faster than others. We've progressed some individuals a little faster than others, and just this style that we teach, it actually makes it pretty easy to always be adding those extensions. We reached out when we first got our equipment to a local company. We have a Farrell's, and you'll see like on our gloves, we actually bought them through them because they were a lot less expensive. We brought them out, they came out, they taught us teachers, they let us come take a class. We did the same thing with Title Boxing, which is a much more boxing oriented group. They let us take a couple classes, and then we were able to incorporate it. And then we also had guest speakers. They've come out and actually led classes, and then we always pick up a few more things. And the students also learn that, oh man, there's a place in my community that if I really enjoy this activity, I can go and I can participate. So let's go ahead and get started in our movements. You'll notice that I have some tape on the floor there between my feet. And that's just to show a balanced stance. So you don't want to have your feet in a surfboard position where you have one foot really behind another. You need to have that more hip to shoulder width body stance position. And typically when I'm teaching cardio kickboxing, I alternate which foot is forward and which foot is back. And that's just because I like to be even. And like we tell students, we are not really teaching you true boxing. We are not teaching you how to win or lose fights. We are just teaching you how to be fit. And you can see up there, so really the skills are basically the same, whether or not you're actually punching a bag or you're punching the air. The skill doesn't really change. There's a couple of little things about, when you're using a bag, you've got to treat them in certain ways. But other than that, the positions are all the same. So that was really all pretty much the same, whether it's equipment or not. And I'll go through some of that for you. So the basic stuff for the body, upper body stuff, I'll go over that. So we always keep our hands in in a hands up position. And that's whether or not you're using upper body, lower body skills. Because we want to really engage our core, right? So the kickboxing, boxing, all that stuff, I mean, the core strength is awesome. And every movement really should be working your core. And so we want to use our tape. I've got it lined up for myself here. I'm going to start with my right foot up and my left foot back. But again, it's really all the same. You can switch to the other side at any point and practice both ways. Okay, so hands are always up, core is always flexed. And we always talk to kids about, you're tightening those abs, you're flexing them. We don't want them to be loose. We don't want them to be relaxed. We've got that good posture, that stacked position. Then we bring one foot up. My weight is on my toes. So that way I can rotate. Our power and our jabs and our punches and our kicks and stuff really does come from our core. So if I have my knees bent and my weight up on my toes, then I can really get my movement to be a lot more powerful. And if I'm using a bag, I'm going to feel that movement be more powerful. If I'm using my arms, I'm going to feel it a little bit more in my ability to bring the movement back quickly. Okay. So my hands are up, knees are bent. Go ahead, and if you're hanging out and watching, go ahead and stand up with me and try all these movements with me. Okay. So we've got weight on the toes. I've got one foot back, one foot forward, but I'm still in a balanced position. So like if someone would come and push me, I could still catch. Okay. I'm not, if I'm here, more of that surfboard position, it's going to be a lot harder for me to rotate. It's going to be harder for me to maintain that balance. Okay. And you can see I have my shoes off, but that's because I'm in our wrestling room right now, which is typically where we do it, because you don't want to kick bags with shoes on because it can kind of tear them. So I had to take my shoes off, but yeah, you can do this without. Normally when we're in the gym, everybody's got their shoes on. Yeah, so I've got my hands up, and then as I'm rotating into any jab, punch, or whatever we are teaching, I'm gonna have my hips move, okay? So if I'm gonna do a front jab, so that front arm is gonna be what comes up, I'm gonna move those hips with my body. If it's a back one, I'm gonna do the same thing. My hip is gonna actually rotate, I'm gonna move. But one thing that you notice in students when they really start getting going, and really even in ourselves, is that we start to bring our shoulders up and we start to shrug. We want our shoulders to be relaxed. We want our core to be doing the work. If we're up here, it's going to be a lot harder for that movement. So nice and relaxed, and making sure that you're ready to do some movements like this. So just going to practice that, rotating forward on your toe, rotating back on your back leg, and those hips are moving, that core. You should be feeling it as you're rotating through. All right, so lower body skills. So again, hands are up, core is engaged, that athletic stance is there. And relaxed shoulders. Now you're going to do all kinds of stuff. You can do, side kicks and come through. You can do a front kick. You can do a back kick. If you're not using equipment, you can get a lot more creative in your kicks. But the one thing that is always really the same is that lift, the knee should come up first, and then we kick through our heel or our toe. Okay. If I'm kicking back, I would bring my heel back and then kick first. So I need to use the core engagement. I need to lift and then kick. I need to lift and then kick, okay? So if I'm gonna do a front kick, I'm gonna bring up my front knee, core engaged, a little bit of a slight knee bend on my plant leg or my resting leg, and then I'm kicking through my heel, okay? So just practice that a little bit, okay? If you want to add a back kick because you feel excited, go ahead. Just don't kick too hard. We haven't really warmed up yet. All right. Let's get into some specific movements. So jabs, or sometimes we call these numbers, we number them 1 through 6. So a jab would also be a 1. Okay, so I've got my stance going. I'm going to be doing a right jab because I've got my right foot forward. Hands are up, my core is tight. Now, as I jab, my shoulders and my hips are going to move. So the torso is going to move. I should never be just doing this. It's all core, it's all movement, right? So I'm going to come forward. And as I come forward, you're going to notice that my thumb is going to twist and then come over. So my thumb is facing the sky until right before full extension. I never lock completely out, but I get really close, and then I come back. So when I actually finish, my fist is horizontal, okay? So I would just be doing this, right? Here we go. Perfect. Good job. And just try like 5 or 6 of those, okay? 5 or 6 of those. If I was doing a seated or an adapted class, or had a kid who had a leg injury, it would be the same thing. They would be seated and they would be twisted as much as they could in the shoulders and the hips and coming forward, okay? Making sure that balance stance is there. And I have that little note on the bottom. These are what we grade them on too. So like during a class when they're going through, and I've always got some sort of projector screen up, which I'll show you in a little bit. I'd be walking around giving feedback, giving that, but I could also be walking around and grading. And I always tell them, it doesn't matter if I see the first jab or the last jab, they should all really look the same. And you would get, usually try to do 5 pointers that I'm looking for, and I would tell them, okay, I'm focusing on these 5 things today. This is what I'm looking for. Here's the score that you got. All right, so the cross. So the cross is a lot of oblique action. So again, we're in our athletic stance. For me, this is gonna be my left arm. So I'm gonna come across, and you're gonna notice it's a lot of hip movement, a lot of rotation on that back leg, and I'm coming across the body, okay? And you can feel like you get a lot more power in your cross, okay? But again, core tight, weight, knees slightly bent, weight on your toes, rotate at the hips. The rotation is where that power comes. And my thumb is up until right before full extension, and then I'm coming back. So that's really, you're gonna feel it in your bicep, your tricep, and sometimes even back in that lat. Oh, if I'm seated, sorry, I forgot to say this. If I'm seated, really the jabs are just jabs. The cross is really just the same thing, but I would have them, do the same movements just with both arms if they're seated. Okay? And I do this with my adaptive class. We've done quite a few of these this year. All right, so the hook. There's a couple different versions of the hook. There's an American and European. I can't remember which one's which, but one is you make contact with your fist like vertical, and one you make contact with your fist horizontal. I tell kids it's really whatever they're comfortable with. And you always wanna, I forgot to say this in the jabs, it's like you're punching yourself when you're looking at your height that you wanna actually go out. We don't wanna punch up, we don't wanna punch down. Those are different movements. We wanna punch straight out like it's my own height that I'm trying to get at, okay? So when I'm doing my hook, let's do a front hook first. I'm gonna come up and around. So again, I got that rotation at the hip, my weight is on my toes, I'm coming up and around, and I'm gonna make contact. Now, when you finish, it's gonna be elbow out from shoulder, wrist out from elbow, okay? So we don't wanna be down here, because that's gonna be an awkward position. So if I am, especially if I do start making contact on a bag, it's gonna be really uncomfortable for the wrist and the elbow, okay? So I'm coming up and I'm coming around. And again, up and around is kind of the cue that I use. What I didn't say was drop up and around. That's kind of our tendency, is to drop up here. We want to stay high, so it's a quick movement, all right? Now, if we go to the back, we're just gonna be coming from that back side. And again, it's a lot of hip drive from that back leg, a lot of rotation on that back toe, okay? So it's up and around. I will tell you, if you've got your shoes on and you're on gym floor, it can get a little sticky on your feet. Just kind of know that, okay? All right, uppercuts. Oh, the hooks and the chairs are the same thing too. So, you're just kind of up and around, but again, it's not really back and front, it's just hooks, okay? Uppercuts, same idea. And this one even more so is that power coming from the rotation, okay? So my elbow kind of drops in, my shoulder drops down for that front one, and I'm gonna use my hips and I'm gonna extend up and away just a little bit. So it's kind of like a chin contact, So I'm going up and away. So try some of those and use that power. And you'll notice, like, when your core is really, really powerful and really tight, it gives you more speed. And when we would add that back one, same thing. We drop that elbow, we pull that elbow in, we drop the weight, or kind of drop down. Sorry, we shift our weight, we come up, and you're gonna feel a lot of that in your oblique. And you kind of feel the movements are a little bit different on each side depending on which foot is forward and back. And that's why I tend to like to switch, because I'm a weirdo and I like to be even. So those are uppercuts. So you got jab, 1, cross, 2, front hook, 3, back hook, 4, front upper, 5, back upper, 6. So we just went through 6 skills, and we could really combo them in all kinds of different ways, which I'll go over here in just a little bit. All right, so a front kick. So typically when I'm doing the front kick is like an accessory to a movement, or I'm just using it as a heart rate spike. I would have them have their feet even, okay? Because we're gonna make this more of a cardio. So we're gonna lift and kick without trying to shift our weight too much. We don't wanna be like over here leaning and putting too much pressure on that. It's just a slight lean with a slight knee bend, lift that knee, kick through your heel, tighten up your core so you don't weeble and wobble like I just did. Okay, so just this, nice and warmed up. Now, if I'm gonna do it in my skills, Same thing, I'm gonna lean a little bit to my back leg, and my front kick would be just that leg that's forward, okay? So a couple different versions of front kicks that we can really add. If I'm in my chair, because I have an injury, I might just be kicking out like this. If you've got a student who maybe has no use of the legs, I just have them reach or tap. They could do all kinds of different things with this, you know, just kind of moving. If they can just lift, so I've got a few students who have a little bit of strength in the legs and can lift here. I mean, that core and the lower abs is really good if you can get them to do that, okay? So we lift, we kick. The side kick, this one's a little bit fun because it adds a little bit more movement. I'm gonna step forward here for a second. So we're in our stance and we're gonna step, lift, and kick out to the side. Again, we lift the knee first, then we kick through the heel, okay? Same thing if I'm gonna go to the other way, I'm gonna step, lift, kick. So just try a couple of those both ways, okay? See, you know, typically we're a little more coordinated on one side or the other. Some modifiers that we could do is holding on to a chair and just lift and kick. Did that quite a bit this year when I was teaching a more basic fitness class. A wall, they could just lift and kick, you know, or maybe if they're really just beginning their fitness journey, they're just lifting that knee with a little support. If we're in the chair, we just want to do something to the side. So if they can step sideways, that would be great. Just try to engage those obliques, those low abs. Again, if they can't, then maybe we're just going an arm lift to the side to work some lateral movements, okay? Okay, standing knee crunch. So this one is, you know, it's really meant to be like you're pulling someone's down, okay? But we just use it as a core exercise. So the further I reach with my hands, the more core engagement I'm going to get. Okay, so if I've been having my right foot forward, I got my right foot forward, I'm gonna get both hands reaching towards that right leg. And now the further I extend through the toe to the fingertips, the more core I'm going to get, okay? So it's like high knees, right? The higher my knee comes, the more the core works. So I've got that slight knee bend in this leg, reaching, core engage, extend those arms, and then you're driving and twisting, okay? So lift, drive, twist, and then you're gonna try to power it down. And we can do all kinds of stuff with this. So, you know, you've got some where you're in your jabs and rear knee and you're just kind of bringing it up, but really powering. And then we've got what we call a switch kick, which is I'm here, but I'm gonna switch and I'm gonna come around that way. So your extensions, like we talked about, are just, I don't think I've even gotten all of them yet. Okay, so a little defense, right? So duck and roll. So we've got ourselves in our athletic stance. We're trying to now, you know, pretend like someone's coming back at us after we did ours, or we're just trying to get some leg work in when we're doing our exercises. So we're kind of squatting back, weight shifts from front to back. Then I'm gonna come forward, okay? So my face, if I really looked at it, would make a U with my face. So I'm coming back, coming forward. But hands stay high, core stays engaged, and then your eyes, make sure your eyes stay up, okay? Because our eyes are always gonna be up when we're doing this. Some different things for your adaptive PE. You know, like I talked about, the punches are pretty easy, but the core engagement, trying to get them to rotate as much as they can to work the spine. You know, adding stretches, adding reaches if their lower legs or their legs are really not usable. You know, kick if students can do that. You can also tap knee, all kinds of different things. I've had students who we're really modifying for, and we've just had like an object for them to reach and touch, or we brought their chair next to the bag and they're just reaching and tapping. Same thing with their feet when we're doing kicks. You know, if they're really need some major modifications, sometimes this is a big deal, right? So just reaching and tapping, trying to rotate, weight from one leg to the other, and lift that core. Okay, so those are some things that we've done. I don't know if you guys have those pads for basketball where you have your arm through and then you can kind of bump people. So our room that we typically use doesn't have wheelchair access. So we've taken those pads down before with students or paras, and they hold that, and that is what kids can punch on instead of using the bags. All right, so we're gonna practice. So go ahead and get up and get ready. We'll try some different movements. What I would do for warm-ups, if I'm in person, I do a lot of different things. Sometimes I have a list and a timer going. Sometimes I have a whole separate Google slide where it's automatically just going to go through. Kind of depends on the day and what, you know, if I need to kind of talk with a few students, I might have it just run while I'm chatting, or maybe I'm still setting up sometimes because it's not enough time between classes, things along those lines. I did the same thing through Zoom. Like I would sometimes have a list, sometimes I lead it, sometimes it's just a Google slide that's going through, and they're kind of self-led. Today, I just went ahead and did a warm-up along this line. So we're not gonna do 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Basically, we have this list of activities. We're just gonna go through and do 10 of each of these. Since we already did the specific warm-up, but I would typically include some jabs or something like that in the warm-up just to really get that, we talk about this a lot, brain to muscle conversation going to really wake that pathway up so that it's quicker when I'm calling on it. So you just go through, let's just do 10, but if I was doing a class or I was doing a Zoom, I'd start that timer. Maybe that's when I go through and I do my attendance. Maybe that's, like I said, that's when I'm chatting with a specific student if I need to too. So 10 jumping jacks, 1, 2. Again, making sure that core is tight. 9, 10 high knees. 10 butt kicks. 10 lunge and twist, so just 5 on each side. Uh, 10 side lunges. Again, 5 on each side. We don't need much, I don't know about you, but I'm already sweating. So. And normally, like I said, we would have already taught this, so gone through these movements, some RDL. Making sure your core is tight, so you're not flopping all around. All right, and 10 straight leg march. And 10. All right, so again, 20 seconds each. They go through it, or I give them rep counts, that kind of thing. All right, so typically my very first time, we're gonna do really basic movements like jab cross hook, jab cross squat. For today though, I wanted to really give you some great variations of some movements. So here we go. So the very first one we're gonna do is a jab, cross, roll forward, or sorry, roll back, roll forward. So 1, 2, roll back, roll forward. And then I would pair it with a heart rate spike. So something that's gonna get us moving. We could do a little quicker. We're gonna really get that heart rate going, okay? So go ahead and practice this with me. I'm gonna use my tape because I've got it here. So jab, cross, hands are still high. I roll back, I roll forward. So I've got that U I just made with my face, okay? Jab, cross, roll back, roll forward. And then I would tell students, if you feel like you've got it, maybe you've got some experience, you could go, you could get started. You could really come out of the gate flying. Others, you're still trying to get down the, man, it was a jab, cross, and then a what, and a what. You know, just take your time, try to practice the movement so that you get it correctly. Make sure your core is tight. And then start the 30-second timer or whatever amount of time I have set for it. And I'd say go. And that would give me the ability to kind of walk around and help everybody. We do have heart rate monitors that we use quite a bit. Not every class uses them, but most of our classes do. So that also helps me kind of monitor what's going on as I'm moving around the classroom. Okay, so jab, cross, roll, roll, jab, cross. And just go ahead and do like 10 reps to yourself. And I always say count 1, 2, roll. And kind of say it to yourself. Okay, good job. Go ahead and give yourself a second here to try to practice that. If you want to switch sides and do the other side, kind of practice. Good. Then we would say, okay, now we need to get our heart rate going. So we're going to go quick jab crosses, highs and lows. So we're going to change our levels. Okay, so jab cross high, jab cross low, jab cross high, jab cross low. I just added a squat and most students don't even realize it. Okay, so jab cross, jab cross, jab cross, jab cross, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and you can already feel, even if you only did a few reps of that, your heart rate is a little bit higher than it already was. All right, next one. Okay, so we've got jab, cross, rear knee. I'm gonna jump and switch knee. Okay, so when I do it quick, it's jab, cross, rear knee, switch knee. Okay, and then I would have to reset for each one, but I'm adding a little jump to it, so it's okay. My heart rate's gonna get up, right? So jab, cross, rear knee, switch knee. And if, man, the kids that really struggling, just jab, cross, rear knee. And we would have done that first. I mean, that would have already been in one of our lessons before we added the switch knee, okay? Probably even maybe a couple of times. So go ahead and try that a couple times. Jab, cross, rear knee, switch knee. Jab, cross, rear knee, switch knee. And then switch legs, try to do the other side. Rear knee, switch knee. And if, again, if it's really hard, slow it down. Jab, cross, rear knee, step, switch knee, okay? No problem. Our heart rate spike will be the same kind of thing we just did, but we're gonna do hooks. So we're hooking high, hooking low, hooking low. So face, body. So high. Now sometimes what happens is our hand straps, we gotta keep those up. And again, they go where it fits. And if they're struggling already, go slower, it's no problem. All right, next movement. Okay, so this one is super fun. So we're gonna go cross, hook, rear knee, and now we're gonna actually add some physical movement, okay? So this one I didn't do when we were in Zoom, just because I don't know what kind of space kids have, but I do this one when we're in person. So cross the body, so a nice oblique work, quick front hook, rear knee. Now I'm gonna go jab, power cross, okay? So I go cross, hook, rear knee, jab, cross. Sorry, got lost there. Let's try it again, okay? Cross, hook, rear knee, double jab, power. Okay, so those double jabs are quick, and then that other one is power, okay? So really quick, it would be cross, hook, rear knee, double jab, power. And if your kid's like, man, I got this, you just go. Boom, and then they jog back to their spot. So we added just a little bit of agility there too. And then, oh man, the ground to alternating fighting stance is really just a fancy way to say burpee, okay? So I'm up here, I jump, I come down to this, jump my feet back, jump my feet up, right into my fighting stance. So 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Bring my feet back. So again, I mean, that's an advanced burpee. My modifiers, got my chair, right? So I'm here, jump my feet back, jump my feet in, step to stance, right? Jump my feet out, jump my feet back, step to stance. And just alternating there. All right. If I've got, I've got a couple kids maybe who are injured. So I would just be doing, okay, I've got my cross, hook, knee, power. Cross, hook, knee, power. And you just, once they get going, once you've given them some modifications through each of the lessons, you could do that. One other thing I should go over with you is any of these, if you add weights, so you've got these little 2-pound weights or soup cans, if you can find small enough ones to really grip hard so you're not like throwing them through a screen or something, if you do these for a few minutes, your arms are going to definitely feel it, okay? These are just a few of the GIFs that I use. I mean, some of them I make myself, which you've seen through here, but some of them are available out there. These are all from just Googling it and finding something that I like. We've done these fire hydrants, which you can see on the top left. And then if you have a bag or something to kick to, and now I'm up and then I'm kicking through here, it just adds such a level of intensity, okay? Again, just some more difficult abs as you move through. I'm always doing extensions for kids. And then we're gonna just kind of review here and try a couple of combos. So go ahead and kind of get comfortable. I'm gonna move my screen here. When I say get comfortable, I mean to move. Because we're gonna try all of these. And you can just see the endless opportunity for combos. So jab, cross, we've already done. So just try a few jab crosses, jab, cross, jab, cross. Go ahead and switch those feet. Jab, cross, jab, cross. Awesome. All right. So next one is jab, cross, hook. So we just did 3. 1, 2, 3. Jab, cross, hook. Switch my feet. Try the other way. Jab, cross, hook. Keeping that elbow up. Keeping that movement high. Making sure the core is there. Right? Okay. And you can also do 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got jab, cross, hook, hook. Okay, so simple enough. I don't have it on there just because it's one that's kind of easy. So to think of, I should say, jab, cross, hook, upward, right? So now I'm coming through this. So I've got my jab, got my cross, coming hook, and then I'm coming from that backside, drop down, come through, right? So try that for a minute. So jab, cross, hook, upward. You can just feel that core work happening. Jab, cross, hook, upward. Okay, and you can always switch sides, of course. Upward, jab, and I always find I'm a little bit better on one side than the other. Okay, so we already did the jab, cross, back knee. And we've already done the jab, cross, double knee. But that would be basically, so jab, cross, back knee, right? Jab, cross, back knee, front knee. So you just added a high knee and a great oblique on each side, okay? You've got, jab, cross, and then I'm gonna lean. I've got my front kick, so I'm lifting there. And now I'm gonna come forward and I'm adding my back kick. Again, we haven't done any equipment, but I don't know about you, but I'm sweating like crazy. You can add plyos in between. So just a jab, cross, squat, jab, cross, squat, jump, okay, in between. On our bags, that's typically what we do because we have to pair up because we don't have enough for every kid to have their own bag. So my partner would be on the opposite side because the bags do move a little bit when you're making contact. But I would go jab, cross. While I'm squatting, my partner is doing jab, cross on that side. So we're not both punching on the bag at the same time. So adding quite a bit of cooperative learning right there for you, okay? But again, you can make it easy. Jab, cross, we're gonna do a lunge, a lunge. Another one that we do is lunge to roundhouse, okay? And then just mixing it up, trying to do different levels like we did high and low. You could go more power, so I'm resetting after each one. I'm going speed, so I'm gonna do some burnouts. You could do power and speed. So, I'm gonna really get it for this amount of time. I'm gonna really push myself. Maybe I'm coming forward, maybe I'm moving back, okay? Maybe I'm moving sideways. Maybe I'm gonna punch here, punch there, okay? So I'm going more at my angles. You could add those defensive moves. You can jab, cross, back, back, jab, cross, back, front knee. I mean, it really is endless. And then, like I said, adding those weights to your hands takes it to a whole other level. We do music. We do partners where they have to move around. Like, when the music pauses, you got to switch and go find a new partner. We set bags, and I'll show you some of the different formations. You could also do it with cones to have them move around to different cones, different things like that. The whole class maybe has to get to a certain number of reps. Maybe if we're doing our heart rate monitors, everybody's got to get to a certain zone or higher. And then we have like a dance moment, stuff like that where they're earning things, makes it exciting for all. And then, here's just some of the ways that we've kind of kept it new and exciting through the years. Fun, creative, like I said, you can stand in front of them and lead them all the time. You can participate with them. It can be student-led. It can be all kinds of different ways. So, and we really push the cooperative learning. So here's kind of how it looks like. This is my Zoom setup. So when I have my Zooms going, this is the screen. And then I always do, I decided just to do heart rate checks because I didn't know how else to hold kids accountable because couldn't require the screens to be on and all kinds of things like that. So we would just do a 6-second heart rate check. Okay, multiply that by 10, put that in the chat. Now, at least they're paying attention and I have an idea of where their heart rate is. And even if they're, making up the number, at least they know where they should be for this activity. Here's another one. So this was, we did a Tabata for this one. And I actually did this as an asynchronous assignment. So I had the slideshow kind of all set up and then they worked themselves through. And I had my GIFs on there of myself doing it. And instead of it being just a video they were following along with, like they kind of really did it. And then there was a Google form for them to fill out with their reps for each one. So they could really figure that out. And then of course, taking your heart rate after each segment. So this one, I always offer modifiers. So I really wanted to show you that. And this again was another core, like self-led asynchronous assignment, but I'm giving them different choices. So we were doing some hip lifts, but I have a single leg hip lift option and a double leg hip lift option. Over here, we're doing planks, got your feet up, got your feet down, and you could do an alternating leg raise. So I offer a lot of different options, always give multiple modifiers. And that's like when we're teaching those movements, those are embedded in it. Okay, so here's just kind of a video of us in our bags. And this is one of our advanced PE classes. We just thought it might be kind of fun to get to see it. You can see there's all kinds of range of abilities. Some are really good. Some are loving it. Some are competitive. Some, are just there to get a workout. Some are just there because they have to get the credit. Here's just another view, and you see a different range of abilities here. So, we've got some kids who are just kind of doing it, but they're still moving. They're getting the exercise. They're working on their form maybe. Yeah, so that's just kind of that stuff. Here's a workout that I would do, and this would be like, I'd put it up on the projector and then they would go, okay? And they could work, I'd have them work in individuals or I'd have them work in pairs, or they could work in a group depending on the rep count. But then I always offer these challenge options. So I make the rule here that only one person could be working at a time. So while one partner's doing jump ropes, the other partner's resting, or they could be doing abs while they're waiting. Okay, if they're just way more fit than the rest of the class, they're ready for a challenge, they could double some things. Okay, basically I had to do that because I only have a certain amount of equipment. So I had to come up with creative ways for kids to do it. And then I had kids who have lots and lots of energy and just really are looking for that more of a challenge. This was a really fun one. We did the 12 days of kickboxing right before we went on winter break. And it was really early to try. So it's a decent workout, but like we went through it. Like we have a lap that we would run, and then we're coming back, we're doing our push-ups, hamstring curls in the bag, and then we're doing some combos in there. And then you're going to go, hamstring curls, then 2 push-ups, then 1 lap. And man, where our heart rate's going, it was a pretty intense workout with the lap in there. Spring fling. I don't know if you noticed, I like to name things. I like to have it for different seasons. I like to do colors, make it exciting. With same concept. We did a hump day where it was really like leg focused other than the jabs. So really just, focused on the hump. And then we did some circle workouts. So in this room, we had our bags kind of set up. Like, so if you didn't have a ton of bags, you only have a few, you could do this workout. So we broke them up into teams, and we had 3. You could obviously do more teams, but this is kind of what it looked like when you're on the outside, or you could have cones. You have your outside group. Every time they get to a certain cone or a certain bag, they're going to do a certain combination, and they're going to get all the way back to the bag they started at. And then you got to go, the other way as well. And then we're going to go inside the group. They're doing, while it takes that group that long to get around, they're doing some sort of ab or plyo. And then we're going to rotate through. It's a really fun team concept idea. That's just some of the stuff. And I'll give you access to all these slides. But yeah, this is kind of that idea, kind of the basics, the workout ideas that we did for it. This is a photo of the workout kind of going. You can see them in the circle there, and you can see my timer is up on the wall, kind of being presented. And now I typically have the timer plus GIFs, but this was a while ago. This was just a, kind of like what we used with them, some of the skills that we did. Dead bugs, mountain climbers, speed bags, all, not really that big of a deal. And speed bags are this, where you're just kind of going through with the arms. In and of themselves, not very hard, but when you start doing them quickly and without rest, it becomes more difficult. We did a 3-line workout. So basically we put our bags into lines. And again, if you didn't have this many bags, you could just do as many as you had. You're doing a skill at each bag, and then you're coming back around on the other side. And your team, you have to get through it a certain number of times. And when you're waiting, you could be doing skills like that's where we would do our push-ups, mountain climbers, things like that. So you're at the bag, you're doing jab, sprint to the next bag, jab, sprint to the next bag, jab. Then I'm running back to the end of my team line. Okay. And sometimes we got to get through it 3 times, see who gets through it first. Just adding, again, those levels of cooperation. Some of the things that we did at that, I know that these things are kind of funny, like the JCJ. That's basically jab, cross, jab, cross. It just gets hard to like fill all that in. Roundhouse would be on there. Differentiating for students would be meeting their levels of fitness and trying to make it work for them. And I've kind of talked about that throughout, but there's always this option to drop into a boxer shuffle if you need a break. Like we're doing the movements, but man, it's just too hard. But we also offer, if we're on a break and you want to do something because you want to work a little harder, there's something for you to do. Abs, squats, something along those lines. Sometimes self-paced activity. So they're going through, like we're using timers, and really they can modify it to fit where they need to be. Always progressions and regressions for movements. Like you're in your jab, but maybe you need to slow down because you need to focus on that. Fitness journey is something I talk about quite a bit, is just, teaching kids that they need to figure out where they're at. Okay. If their form is a big indicator of that. If your form is really good and your heart rate is really controlled, then you might need to push yourself. And it's important that you do push yourself because the heart needs to be challenged. If your form needs some work or your heart rate is elevated, then you might need to slow yourself down, take a break, and kind of recover there. So they need to really figure out where they're at. But if they're needing to challenge themselves and they're not, then they're not getting what they need out of the workout. If they're challenging themselves and they're not, and it's too much, then they're also not getting what they need out of that workout. So that fitness journey really matters. And the person next to them on each side is going to be different at every point of a fitness journey. These are just some of the differentiated modifications I have. And really break it down, lunges, walk lunges, here we go, or here's our plank, and then you would modify forward, those kind of things. Again, I'll give you access to this. Our roundhouse progression, I'm not gonna go through this too much because like I said, we're focusing basically on, not using equipment. I talked about the fitness journey already. Here's just some of the assessment. I really believe in assessment it kind of shows the kids that, hey, I think this is important and you need to learn this. And then I just put in there and you can kind of go through what we grade when we're doing it. Okay. And then just some of the cues that we use as we kind of go back, snap back, when you're coming in those jabs. I don't think I used that earlier, but everything else we really did. And then use all of your resources. A lot of the movements that I used today were either taught by a local business or I got them from Beachbody. I don't know if you've had that. We use that quite a bit. And sometimes we teach directly from the video, but a lot of times I like to watch the video, kind of take notes myself, and then use those activities. And then I hope you have fun with this. This is kind of me just doing my own kickboxing here, but I really enjoy teaching it. I really enjoy the students' reaction to it, and it really is fun. So let me know if you have questions, you need things, and hopefully we have a little time here today to chat. So thanks.
Thank you for attending the 48th Annual Elementary Physical Education Workshop. We're glad you were here.
Please follow us on our social media platforms. EPEW can be found on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Please check out our website for links to more great sessions. Just go to epew-cp.weebly.com and click on the virtual EPEW 2021 tab at the top and scroll down.
EPEW 2021 Educators Assemble would not be possible without the support and dedication from the amazing EPEW committee. The committee has been hard at work for months preparing for this workshop. Thank you to Linda McGee, Barbara Groton, Scott Wilson, Stephanie Sandino, Julie Miller, Jessica Monlux, Kayla Ailman, Shelby Lozano, Andrea Chavez, Scott Townsend, and Cindy Chase.
Thank you for attending EPEW, where our motto is, come to learn, leave as family.